In a world consumed by war, where morality crumbled and humanity vanished behind the smoke of the crematoriums, one man stood out, not for his courage, not for his brilliance, but for his cruelty. He was a doctor who promised to heal, yet became the architect of nightmares. His name was whispered among prisoners with the same terror as the word death itself. They called him the Angel of Death. Welcome to Moon Code, where the fear doesn't end when the video ends. The man behind the monster. Picture this, May 1943. A train pulls into Auschwitz-Birkenau. As terrified prisoners stumble onto the platform, a figure emerges from the shadows, impeccably dressed, whistling Wagner, with an almost theatrical elegance. With a casual flick of his hand, he decides who lives and who dies. Left means immediate death in the gas chambers. Right means a chance at survival, or something far worse. This was Josef Mengele, a man who held 2 doctoral degrees and used them not to heal, but to inflict unimaginable torment. Born in 1911 to a wealthy Bavarian family, Mengele earned doctorates in both medicine and anthropology, studying under professors obsessed with racial purity. But when he arrived at Auschwitz, he found something more valuable than any laboratory: unlimited human subjects and absolute freedom to conduct any experiment he desired, no matter how depraved. The obsession with twins. Mengele's fixation with twins bordered on the supernatural. When transports arrived, he would walk the platform calling out, "Zwilling heraus." Twins stepped forward. Children who revealed they were twins were immediately separated from their families. Sometimes this seemed like salvation, but it was merely a different kind of hell. He assembled approximately 1,500 sets of twins. They received better food, lived in special barracks, and weren't immediately sent to the gas chambers. But these privileges came at a horrific price. Mengele would inject one twin with deadly diseases, typhus, tuberculosis, while keeping the other as a control. When the infected twin died, he often killed the healthy twin immediately, sometimes by injecting chloroform directly into their heart, so he could perform comparative autopsies while the tissues were still fresh. He attempted to create conjoined twins by surgically connecting blood vessels and organs of siblings. The operations were performed without proper anesthesia, the children's screams echoing through the medical block. All died from infection within days. In his quest to create the perfect Aryan eye color, Mengele injected chemicals directly into children's eyes, attempting to change brown eyes to blue. The injections caused excruciating pain, infections, and often permanent blindness. Some children's eyes would swell grotesquely, oozing pus for days before they died. The Chamber of Horrors. The medical block at Auschwitz became Mengele's personal laboratory of terror. Pressure chamber experiments. Victims were placed in low-pressure chambers simulating high altitudes, their eardrums rupturing, blood vessels bursting from their skin, until they suffocated or their organs failed. Freezing experiments. Prisoners were immersed in ice water for hours while Mengele documented how long it took for them to lose consciousness and die. Some were then rewarmed. They rarely survived. Surgical experiments. Without anesthesia, Mengele would remove bones, muscles, and nerves from living victims. The screams could be heard throughout the camp. He performed unnecessary amputations and organ removals, often just to see how long subjects could survive without them. The Auschwitz family. Perhaps the most bizarre case involved a family of 7 Jewish dwarfs from Romania, entertainers known as the Lilliput Troupe. When Mengele saw them in 1944, his eyes lit up with twisted delight. He spared all 12 family members, the 7 dwarfs and 5 average-sized relatives, making them his personal research subjects. They endured months of examinations, blood extractions, bone marrow samples, and painful procedures. Mengele would pour scalding water into their ears, extract their teeth without anesthesia, and blind them with chemical drops. Miraculously, all survived, making them the largest family to survive Auschwitz intact. The Whistling Devil. Survivors remember eerie details that made Mengele even more terrifying. He whistled classical music while conducting selections. He appeared elegant, cultured, even charming at times. He would give candy to children moments before injecting them with fatal diseases. This juxtaposition of civility and monstrosity made him seem almost inhuman, a demon wearing a man's face. The anticlimactic end. When Soviet forces closed in on Auschwitz in January 1945, Mengele fled. He was briefly captured by American forces, but released because they didn't realize who they had. Using false papers, he escaped to South America. For decades, the most intensive manhunt in history pursued him. Israeli Mossad agents, Nazi hunters like Simon Wiesenthal, but they never caught him. Mengele spent his final years living under the name Wolfgang Gerhard in a shabby São Paulo suburb, supported by a Hungarian couple. He had suffered a stroke, grown paranoid and bitter, living in fear of discovery. On February 7, 1979, while swimming at a beach in Bertioga, Brazil, he suffered another stroke and drowned. He was buried under his false name. The monster who had murdered thousands died a mundane death, escaping justice. His identity wasn't confirmed until 1985 when investigators exhumed the body. DNA testing in 1992 provided final proof that Josef Mengele had died 30 years earlier, having never faced trial for his crimes. The scientific fraud. Here's perhaps the most disturbing truth. All of Mengele's research was scientifically worthless. Not a single discovery emerged from his experiments. No medical advancement resulted from the thousands of deaths. His work was pseudoscience, torture masquerading as research, sadism dressed up in clinical language. He kept meticulous records, filled notebooks with measurements and observations, but it was all in service of debunked racial theories and personal sadism. Real scientists who have reviewed his surviving notes describe them as the ravings of a zealot, devoid of proper methodology, control groups, or scientific value. The suffering he caused served no purpose beyond satisfying his twisted curiosity and Nazi ideology. The question that haunts us: how could an educated doctor, a man of science, commit such atrocities? The answer is as chilling as it is simple. He didn't see his victims as human. To him, they were specimens, data points, opportunities for advancement in a twisted racial hierarchy. Mengele never expressed remorse. In letters discovered after his death, he defended his actions and complained about being persecuted. He died believing he had done nothing wrong. The angel of death escaped earthly justice, but his name lives on as a warning, a reminder of what humans are capable of when morality is abandoned in the name of ideology and pseudoscience. His story isn't just history. It's a cautionary tale that remains terrifyingly relevant. The victims of Josef Mengele deserve to be remembered not as experiments, but as individuals, children, mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters whose lives were stolen by a man who saw them as nothing more than laboratory animals. Their suffering must never be forgotten, and the lessons of their deaths must guide us to ensure such horrors never happen again. If this story sent chills down your spine, don't let it vanish into the algorithm. Subscribe to Mooncode, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments, because the more we talk about the horrors of the past, the less power they have to return. And remember, some stories are meant to be told, even when they keep you awake at night.